Have you ever enjoyed a game in a long-running series, leading you to go back and play the rest of the games, only to find out that those entries are a lot more dated by comparison? That was what I was afraid was going to happen when I played Persona 4 Golden. Persona 5 had such an amazing sense of style, and Persona 4 just seemed like it was going to feel like a huge step back. And since I know I am definitely not alone in this feeling, I'm going to go through what I've observed about the gameplay so far after beating the first dungeon, and explain why this game still holds up compared to its much more popular successor. Like any Persona game, you have a fairly basic gameplay loop. You have some dungeon that you need to defeat before a specific deadline, and each day before that deadline you have several choices. You can choose to hang out with friends and improve your bonds with them, you can do things that improve your various social skills, or you can head into the TV and try to take on the dungeon. There isn't really much here that's different from the traditional Persona formula. The only thing I noticed was that deadlines are a lot less clear in this game. They're not directly stated to you like they are in Persona 5. Instead, they're based on the weather. Your indication that a deadline is about to occur is about when you have 3 consecutive days of rain, after which point the fog will lift and there will be a murder. If you fail to complete a dungeon in that time, someone will die. But if you succeed, that person will live and you will be allowed to move on to the next destination. This structure, while it works, is a bit annoying to plan around because you don't know for certain when your deadline actually is. But hey, that's not a problem if you just rush in and complete the dungeon on the first day, right? The majority of your days are going to be spent doing things in the real world. The social link system is pretty much identical to how it appears in Persona 5. The only difference is that there's not much in terms of perks from non-party member social links. You just get more experience when fusing your personas. You still have to work on leveling up your social stats though, and many of those are going to be gates to certain social links. So you need to factor that in when you plan out what you're gonna do with your time. Unlike Persona 5, unfortunately, this game doesn't give you a convenient way to check who's available and on what days they are. However, that's not a huge issue in the age of the internet, it's just slightly annoying to have to pull out your phone and Google where a character is instead of just having that told to you by the game. On those days that you choose to go into the TV, you have a somewhat different experience than what you might be used to with Persona 5. The biggest thing here is that dungeons are not predetermined. They are completely random. This is very similar to how Mementos works out. There is a set number of floors that you have to explore, and your goal is to explore a floor until you find the corresponding stairs, at which point you're then able to advance to the next floor and continue on. Unfortunately, I find this to be the game's weakest point, as it feels like a huge step down from the handcrafted labyrinths that were present in Persona 5. The other thing is that there is not really a stealth mechanic here either. It is a lot harder to ambush enemies in this game than it was in Persona 5. Speaking of ambushing enemies, let's talk about the game's combat. The combat system is fairly straightforward. Each character gets 1 action per turn, and by hitting weak points or scoring critical hits, they can get extra actions. You're a lot more limited in what you can do with those extra actions though, as you do not have access to the baton pass mechanic, so you have no way to hand off that extra turn to another party member. Despite not being able to pass off your attacks whenever you want, party members may get follow attacks, which will hit another enemy and guarantee a critical hit, knocking them down. And if you knock down all enemies, you get to perform an all-out attack, which is still eminently satisfying to pull off, and the animation is still slick as ever. What's more, however, is if you fail to knock out the enemies with that all-out attack, and you have certain characters in your party, you may trigger an additional team attack that deals even more damage to an enemy. There is one thing you need to be aware of before you jump into a battle though, and that is that your other party members are initially configured to be controlled by the AI. So you need to go in and tell the game that you want to manually control them. This is a holdover from Persona 3 where you could not control your party members normally, and it is a minor annoyance to remember to have to go into the menu and set this every time. Despite that, however, I would much rather have that than just not being able to control my party members at all. Of course, one of your party members is special. Just like Joker, you, and yes, that is literally his name, is a wild card, which means that he can use multiple personas. However, you don't obtain them by negotiating with enemies, but rather through a feature known as Shuffle Time. This is triggered after battle by performing certain actions such as hitting weaknesses and performing all-out attacks. In this mode, you pick various cards, some of which are personas, and others include stuff such as skill cards, being able to restore a small amount of HP and SP to your party, or getting a small multiplier to the amount of money or experience you get from battle. You can take the personas that you win from battle and taking the Igor for fusion. This is your main reason to want to level up your social links. And if you've played Persona 5, this system is more or less identical. There isn't much here in terms of meaningful difference. Similar to that game as well, you have the Velvet Room attendants who are able to summon back personas that you've already gotten rid of, or teach your personas new skills through skill cards. In terms of difficulty, this game is quite a bit harder than Persona 5. I've definitely observed thus far that you will need to grind. Unless you change the difficulty, that is, but we're gonna get to that in just a bit. Due to your limited resources at the start of the game, it was not really possible for me to do the first dungeon in a single day. It took me 2, and even then, it was a really rough time. However, don't let that scare you, because you have 5 different difficulty options to pick from. And unlike Persona 5, you don't get locked into any of them by picking them. They can be changed at any time, even mid-dungeon. What's even better is that you don't just have these 5 difficulty options that you pick at the beginning of the game. You can of course set the game to those options, but you also have the ability to set your difficulty to custom. You can directly change a number of things to customize your difficulty as you see fit. Enemies doing just a little too much damage to you? Then you can lower the amount of damage that you take. Don't really want to grind in this game? Then just increase the amount of experience and money you get from battles. Don't like losing everything to one well-placed hit from an instant death spell? Then just turn on these super broken retry battle options. It doesn't take you to the start of the battle, it's literally a full heal. This is a bit excessive as far as I'm concerned. This is arguably my favorite part of Persona 4 Golden, and it's something that I want to see in a lot of games, not just this one. Persona 4 is a game that still holds up even after the release of its wildly successful sequel. And I would highly recommend this to any JRPG fans who happen to have a PC. And with that, I just want to say thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more JRPG content in the future. But until next time, guys, peace!